There's an American engineer and chemist who received masses of awards and honours for his work. Sounds great, isn't it? His name was Thomas Mitchell. I don't expect any of you heard of Thomas Mitchell. No. He was very famous. His first problem that he dealt with was, some of you may be old enough about it though, knocking in combustion engines. It's a known problem with combustion engines, knocking, the sound of knocking, which is...
We have lead to the petrol.
Well, yeah, that's right. But you've got this knocking thing going on, and nobody knew what the hell to do about it, because it was really bad noise and it destroyed the engines. So he was asked to come up with a solution. Well, obviously, putting an additive in would be the best way to go because it's simple, but you've got to find an additive. Well, he came up with a thing called tetraethyl lead, TEL for short, and that was dispensed in the garage. They put the petrol in and then it shot the stuff, and it smoothed everything out. Lovely. Problem though, you really don't want the lead to coat the engine because it wouldn't do it a lot of good. So the lead was got rid of by pumping it out of the exhaust. And then they decided, this is great, it works. So factory, start making this stuff. First factory killed 4, and I think it was 10 of them ended up in the lunatic asylum. Nobody would admit it was them. Nothing to do with it, They were working too hard, and that's what it was. They've got on all industries, smooth everything out. The big plant, which came because of the fact that sooner or later they had to make a lot of it, so they got this big plant going. That did get shut down pretty quick because it was killing off people very rapidly, and lots of people were going off their heads. They'd be in the factory trying to get rid of these insects that were all around them, and they were sort of talking in their own language to anybody that they weren't there. There's nobody there, but they were talking to them. So they shut that factory down, and eventually it agreed that maybe the workers needed to have some proper protection against the gases. And they did that, and things settled down. Now, I did say earlier that the lead was being pumped out the back of the exhausts. Now, what happened? The reports coming in suggested that there was a serious problem. Children had lower IQs that lived in zones full of lead. There were problems with the crops. They were not growing as big as they should do. So they had some serious problems. And even worse, they refused to accept it was the lead. It was definitely not the lead. They had conferences, they had all sorts of things to try to do something, and each time the oil companies managed to stymie anything that was happening. So, separately, this is completely different. A geologist by the name of Claire Patterson, he was doing research on how old is the Earth. How old? And to do that, you needed rocks that had a definite time and rocks that didn't. So they started doing these comparisons, and it was contaminated. There was lead contamination. So they built a sterile chamber, but it was contaminated. And when he started looking, he realised that his skin had lead on it, his hair, even his dandruff, he reckoned, had it. And so it was everywhere. It was coating everything in the planet. Nobody believed him. And he lost all his funding for various projects he had, because the oil companies had squashed it all down again. He even went to the Rear Admiral something of the Navy, who was the top toxicologist in the Navy, and he smoothed it over again. Said, no, you're overstating it. It's a bit of hysteria. The public have been hysterical. No, it's not. And nothing happened. But Patterson didn't give up. He kept on having a go at the newspapers and everybody else, and eventually they got a proper toxicologist who looked at it and said, well, there's enough evidence to hold a proper session here to find out what's going on. They did the proper session and they found out that lead was causing far more problems than they realised. And one of the comments made from earlier on, which was brought out, a guy from the Standard Oil Company said, well, yes, we'll handle it at the moment. We know there's a problem coming, but that's for them to sort out, not to us. Yes. The ones who didn't get that, they really didn't want to know about it. Anyway, they won, and it was withdrawn, and over the years, 1996 was the last country, Algeria, to use lead in petrol. But once the lights have come on, I better start talking. Last one of his name was Edward Bidgley, but last one of his, refrigeration. You've all heard about problems with refrigeration and the ozone layer. Well, he was the one who came up with Freon 12, which attacked the ozone. And they thought it was such a good product, they put it into the cans for doing perspiration and doing their hair, and of course all of this was damaging the ozone. They only found out because they sort of smoothed it over again, didn't want to know, but a couple of scientists down at Antarctic, they'd spotted what was going on, and they measured it. It was the size of North America, the whole, and it got back, and everybody realised that there was no way they could get away from this one, and so the scientists were forced into producing Freon, which was not going to be a problem. So, the Americans and their corruption, and making sure that they got their own way and they kept the money rolling in. So that was invented this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Brian. Do we have any questions?
Oh yes, questions, of course.
I think I read somewhere about it was so sort of endemic in the atmosphere and the environment that we all breathed it in as we were growing up. If you were living in a country with leaded, to the extent where it's impacted all of our IQs by something like 3 or 4 points or something like that.
That's right.
So
it wasn't just the IQs. The thing they found was that where you've got an area that had high lead, you had more crime. When they stopped the lead, the crime rate dropped. It's amazing, really.
I guess it just, if they were going loopy,
Oh yes.
then
it's if your grandkids take the mickey out of you to say, look, you're lucky you didn't put lead line like that. It's something like that.
Lead pipes, like water pipes,
Exactly the
and
same
stuff
problem.
like that. So I mean,
But
there's still
this is
other
why we
properties.
know about it, is because the Romans had lead pipes and lead canisters and things to cook
The
with.
Romans ever done for us.
Yeah, they killed us. But yeah, that was a problem. Yes, lead has been a problem for us since before the Romans. You know, but they knew about it. They realised and started making sure that they didn't use it to carry water and things because it'd get picked up.
and I know there was a expedition in Arctic, and they just didn't find the bodies, and then they eventually realised like what had happened, and it's because they had
Lead cans.
lead cans.
Yeah.
For,
It's not the first time. Lead was one of the problems for them, but otherwise you've got these, again, corrupt manufacturers of foods and cans that had much less thickness of the walls. And if you damage cans, you get botulism because it grows because you've got these very thin walls. They sort of squash in a little bit and dented, and that's it. You know, it really just destroyed them.
The lead, so lead is a sort of metal
Yeah.
that you use for sort of roofs and stuff like that. It doesn't leach too bad. It's not too bad at all. So the water pipes aren't the most sort of dangerous way, because generally the water going through it is sort of like slightly alkaline. But the issue is when the lead compounds are particularly dangerous. So if you ingest it, so if you drink lead, then once your stomach acid gets to work on it, then it creates sort of compounds that mean then it starts passing into your bloodstream. I know that tetraethyl lead was particularly toxic because of the sort of compounds it was bonded with. So it went into your bloodstream, but also went into your brain. Whereas normally your blood would filter those sort of toxins out. So it's a lot of times a lot of lead compounds. And so I found fascinating when I was a kid. There was a woman who had lead poisoning in a pub. She always used to drink out of her favourite tankard, but it was a pottery one, and it had got a glaze on it, a lead glaze, and because she had beer in it, the acidic beer leached the lead out, and she was slowly poisoning herself, and it took them ages to realise, but it's because she hadn't got anything at home. It was just this one pub that she regularly went to, had 3 or 4 pints from her particular mug, and that was poisoning her. And if she'd had something that wasn't acidic out of it, then she'd have probably been fine. So
one of the things that happens with Meg, he reminds you very much of one of our MPs. He took TEL and put it over his hands, and then he drank it to show how safe it was.
What happened to him?
He ended up in hospital. Not at the time, but later. He spent, I think it was 3 months in hospital in Florida, because he didn't want to be around where the people were that were making all his money. So he went off on so I think it was 3 months, and the company said, yes, well, when you come back you can get your medal, the sort of medal had been awarded. So. He did the same with the fluorine one as well. He actually inhaled it.
What's wrong with this guy?
Well, it's money.
Maybe it's because of the lead.
Well, it's money.
He's trying to pay
No, it's
money.
money. He had so much money coming in that he'd do anything to make sure that it didn't get stopped. So a certain MP, was it that was eating beef burgers?
yeah.
With the BSE?
Oh yeah.
And he gave them his children.
Yeah.
Those trust the government.
Yes.
They tell the truth.
So, any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's really, really interesting.
So we shall now have our informative speech by
Okay.
Simon. What's your title?
Strange coincidences. I can't. Yeah. Perhaps something like I don't know, speaker's premonition. Maybe.
Oh.
Mixed with the
No, I'm only going to give about 3 minutes. Or,
Oh.